The big W himself, Walt Mossberg, has been typing with no hands, and he joins us now from Washington, D.C. Walt, typing with no hands. I presume you still have hands, which is good. You good? Me too. Wave to you. So tell us, how have you been doing this?
Okay, so as you know, I'm holding up here an Android phone, but same thing with an iPhone. These phones more and more use virtual keyboards on glass instead of physical keyboards, and there are people who don't like typing on that. They feel like they make too many errors or it's too slow. Well, it turns out that for a while now, Android phones and even iPhones, though they added it later, have had a way to just dictate into the phone instead of typing wherever you might use the keyboard, and that includes emails, texts, notes, word processor documents, Facebook status messages, tweets, whatever. And it's done through a little microphone key. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just in the lower left of the keyboard on both platforms. You hit that key, and instead of typing, you just speak. It sends your words up to a server, and then it transcribes them, and very quickly you see it on the screen. And so I decided to try it out.
Walt, I read your column this morning, and I thought it was so funny because just the other day I'd noticed for the first time this feature on my iPhone that I'd never even noticed before. What do you think it says about the feature that most people don't know about it? Because I tend to think that if you don't know about it, it's probably because it's not a great feature.
But it actually is a very good feature. That's what surprised me, Shandy. I mean, I had fooled around with it and originally testing the phones just for a minute and hadn't thought too much about it. But then when I went back and really heavily used it over the last 4 or 5 days in a variety of environments on both a Samsung Galaxy Nexus and an iPhone 4S, I found that it, in my case at least, it made fewer mistakes and worked faster than typing in most cases. Once in a while it would spectacularly fail, but by and large I found that it was better than typing.
Wow.
So
better than typing on a virtual keyboard.
What it says is, I guess, that they haven't marketed it very much. I mean, Android, Google and its partners who make the phones, to my recollection, haven't marketed a voice much at all, maybe occasionally. Apple has obviously done a lot of marketing around Siri, which includes this, but is a much bigger thing. And they've stressed things like what's the weather going to be and what's the stock price of such and such, or what are the directions to someplace, all of which work. But this little microphone on the keyboard has gotten very little attention. You can find it on these companies' websites, explanations about it, but you're right, they haven't said much about it.
Which phone, Android or the iPhone, is doing this better? Which worked better in your view?
First of all, I would say, as a general statement, they're about the same. There are some differences. The Android phone, if you have the latest operating system, which almost nobody has, that has an advantage in that it shows you the transcription back from the server in almost real time. And Apple, you have to hit a done button and wait a few seconds, and then it will show you what it transcribes. So that's one difference. Apple wasn't always able to come up with any result. Every once in a while it would come up with no result. On the other hand, the iPhone did much better than the Android in noisier environments and was much smarter about capitalizing words. Even the word Google was always capitalized on the Apple phone and never capitalized on the Google phone. So, and that's something that Google says they're going to fix. So, you know, each has its strengths and weaknesses, but by and large, both worked well. And as Shandy says, it's something that people already have on their phones, don't have to spend any extra money to get, but they don't know it's there.
Another thing I noticed in your column, Walt, is that you mentioned the privacy issue, that obviously this is going through some data servers back at Apple and back at Google. But
Right.
One of the questions I have on this doesn't even have to do with the information that Apple or Google may have. I mean, if you're in a big mall and you're, typing sensitive information, why would you want to say it out loud? I feel like that's usually the biggest reason why I don't even talk to Siri, is I just don't really want people hearing what I'm saying, and I feel stupid.
Well, you're not stupid. It's a great question. Obviously, this method for text input isn't always appropriate in every instance. It could also be true that you don't want the person in the next cubicle hearing what you're saying. But that's the same. It's exactly the same as when you're making a phone call.
Right.
And people do that in a mall and in these other environments, Starbucks or someplace, all the time. And all of us know that we hear way too many phone calls. So, I think you just have to use your own judgment. I would actually say that when I was sitting in the food court at the mall, which I thought was like the noisiest possible typical place you could be and really noisy, and I was speaking into the phones, it wasn't that I was saying anything that confidential, but I wasn't sure that anybody could hear me anyway because of all the ambient noise around. But it's like anything else. You have to make a judgment about what you would like to say out loud and what you wouldn't. And so even if you were to adopt this for a lot of your typing, there might still be some cases where you wouldn't do it.
Very quickly, Walt, if you don't have a standard American accent, and I'm putting that out there randomly, will it still work?
It's just random, Simon, I know. Both of them have multiple dialects of English.
Okay.
They have UK, US, and some others. Google has more languages because they've been at this longer, but even Apple has several dialects of English, and the Google one has multiple dialects of other languages, and Apple is heading the same way.
Big smiley face here. You've made my day. Thank you so much. The big W
All right.
himself, Walt Mossberg.